Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Melffy recently got its full support in Master Duel, and today I'll be showcasing how it works with my one-of-a-kind, never-before-seen Runick Melffy build. It is one of the better ways to play Melffy, I think, but it's probably one of the less good ways to play Runick. Time will tell. And don't forget, if you like this kind of shenanigans, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe here on YouTube, follow or subscribe over on Twitch, and join the Discord. Without further ado, Runick Melffy. In this next duel, we play someone who opens some very good cards against us, one of them being Max C, and another one being a very good board-breaking card going second. We start with Obedience Schooled, they use Max C, and then this is what you should always do if you have Obedience and a Runick card. You do Obedience 1, Runick card 2, to bring out your Hugin. You will get to summon her even though she's not a beast, because this resolves first. And then you get to resolve Obedience Schooled. Then in a new chain, you will activate Hugin. That will let you grab your fountain. And we could have tried to activate Ojama Pink to get us ourselves another draw, but we just wanted to go straight into Joyous Melffys because we're under Max C, so we're trying to summon as little as possible. We normal summon the red, and then we summon Wally in end phase, and we'll try to draw on the opponent's turn by synchroing off that Ojama. So we tried to use Joyous Melffys in standby. They used Droplet, which is very good. So now some things happen. They summon Copernicus. They've negated everything except Wally, which was their mistake. Wally is actually one of the best cards on our field. We're going to do something which seems a little bit odd. We're going to negate, or attempt to, this effect with our negated red, because we need to get Joyous off of the field because we want the materials that are tucked underneath it. Specifically, we want to grab this Hop Your Squadron back. So we get to chain block with Puppy and Caddy. We get out Pony, specifically to grab back our Synchro card. So first, we're going to use Penny to synchro into 4 for Merry Melffys. We want to keep them from getting to their Link 2. So we're going to spin that Griffin back to their hand. They use Nectaro Slime from the graveyard to get another body, which will trigger our Pony, grabbing back the Hopier that we got into rotation first turn. Now Hopier can synchro off with Merry Melffys to make Vulcan the Divine, which is basically just another Merry Melffys. With that, they are left with just one monster on the field. They cannot get to their Link 2, and we win. And here's a fun game where we open really well, and we use a card that is uniquely good in Runick Melffy. So we do our typical thing of Obedience Schooled 1, Runick card 2 to summon Hugin. And you can sort of choose what you want here off of Obedience Schooled. Usually I like to get one of our tuners into rotation, one of our quick synchro on the opponent turn's tuners. And if I have extra Runick cards, I like to discard the copies. Here I make Melffy of the Forest. Detach Penny specifically so that it is in reach of Pony. And then here is where we make something that you might not have seen yet. Fabled Unicore. Now we'll use Ojama Pink. They've discarded Medora, which becomes a problem in a second, because we use Tip now. Now they use Medora to shuffle back our 3 targets so we don't get to draw. Unfortunate. If they had, we would have had a lot of cards in hand and we'd be able to modulate them by using our Runick cards. But we still can. We have a lot of interruption. They start with Harpies, so we need to start with Smiting Storm to summon out a Hugin to prevent Fountain from dying. This also lets us draw. I felt it was safer to draw now in case they had another way to out the Fountain. We're playing Tearlament, the Scourge of the format. We grab Rhino Heart. They normal Merly. They activate Cuteness, which we do have the same number of cards in hand now, so that will resolve. Unicore only negates when things are trying to resolve with the same number of cards in hand. We could have prevented that from resolving by using one of these. We decided not to, because we've already used Smiting Storm this turn. That's how we summoned the Hugin earlier. So the only one we can really use is Freezing Curses, so we're saving it. And instead of negating, these aren't doing anything to us right now. We're going to use the effect to summon, because we can use that as synchro material in a little bit. Then they summon Elf. They can't use it right now because we have the same number of cards in hand. We're going to be able to get Puppy there. Sorry, we're going to be able to get Pony. Pony can grab back Penny. And then Caddy can grab Hoppier. And then we can interrupt them 2 more times. So it's going to be pretty hard for them to get through that, even playing Tear. Go us. And here's a duel where we do something that you can do in Melffy that's very cruel, which is we hand rip our opponent on their turn. So we start off in the draw phase, doing both starter and Hugin, protecting ourselves from Droll. You only have to get Drolled once to know how much it hurts. Do red here. We don't grab Jet because we only have 1 starter. Melffy of the Forest to grab our favorite friend, Wally. Bring out another Hugin to then use the Runick Fountain. Draw some more cards. We draw into a 2, which is awesome. We use that Wind Up Kitten, a late addition to our deck, to then bring out Carrot. So now we have red and Carrot in rotation, which we love. We knew they had something, which is why we made Forest first and not Gigantic. We just didn't know it was DD Crow, and that's when we found out. Okay, we're really set up here. We have a couple Runick cards in hand. We have lots of things we can do. They have a Called By, which is fine. What we really wanted to do was use this early, so now that when they activate this effect, we can tribute a Link 2 monster to negate and destroy. They summon, we summon 2. Circular activates its effect. Diameter does give an effect to the monster that uses it as Xyz material, so we need to blow that up so they can't do that. You may wonder why we summoned this here. You'll see in just a second. We actually do want them to go into the Xyz because we want them to have 2 cards in hand, and I'll show you why. First, we're going to use Hop Your Squadron to summon Desert Locust. If you've never seen Desert Locust before, it's a generic level 6 synchro monster. It says if this card is synchro summoned, the turn player discards 1 card. Well, guess whose turn it is? Our opponent's turn. So they're going to have to discard. And then its other effect says, once per chain during an opponent's main phase, you can, immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card you control. Awesome. So we are going, in fact, to make them discard a card and also synchro summon. So there's their discard, and now we've gone into a Mega, which has the effect that says once per turn during the main phase, you can banish both this face-up card from the field and 1 random card from your opponent's hand. Well, let's do that. They try to beat over red, and we slumber it, so they can't. When we go to draw 3, they give up. And honestly, I would too, because that feels really unfair. Unless it's us, then it feels really fun. Often we will win our duels by our opponents getting so frustrated that they quit, but this time our opponent defeats themselves in a kind of funny and interesting way. So they're playing Swordsoul. They make Chi-Shao, doing typical Swordsoul things here. Grabbing Strategist, so that they can make a Barone. Thankfully, we have a bunch of differently named Runick cards in our hand, so we can deal with both of these. We do Dispelling first to see if they want to negate it. They don't. So then we do Flashing Fire to try to pop that. We let them negate it, because what we really need to negate is this Chi-Shao now, so that our Hugin can resolve and get us drawing. Now Cerebral comes out. Now we have 2 level 2 monsters, which is basically all we need. We clear our AMZ first. We try to do Spright to see if they have any more interactions. They do. We summon another Hugin so that we can draw again. Any normal summon here works, and we draw into one. We do want to get rid of that Barone, because we don't want them to use it to pop next turn. And we have another Freezing Curses in hand for the Chixiao. We want to put our Merry Melffys back in the extra deck, because we want to be able to use it later. So we just bring out this Melffy of the Forest as a blocker. It's not doing anything for us right now. We also do this now because Vishuda might return this to the hand. Now it's not a very good target anymore. Their deck count is getting lower by the moment. You'll notice that will become very important in just a bit. They beat over our Melffy of the Forest, which is honestly great because the more beasts engraved means we can shuffle them back later. We do Smiting Storm now. Take 3 out of their deck. Why not? Sadly, we can't use the Obedience School because we have a monster on field. We use Golden Droplet to let us draw a couple cards. Take them down to 18. We use Flashing Fire. Take them down to 15. Now we use Elf. And we'll use Ojama Pink to draw and discard. Now they've activated Max C. Now we can really make them draw a lot. So they're at 11. We summon Jet. Now they're at 10. We use Starter. Bring out Red. Now they're at 9. We use Mannequin Cat. Summon their Max C, which triggers. Now they're at 7. Bring out Kalantosa. Now they're at 6. Make Melffy of the Forest. Now they're at 5. Grab Wally. Now it's the end phase, summon Wally. Now they're at 4. They do have a lot of cards in their hand, but we have a lot of things we can do. For some reason, they activate Max C again. Fun fact, if you're supposed to draw off Max C and you can't, you will lose, which watch what happens now. Rune out of cards in the deck and could not draw. Successful deck out, thanks to Max C. We love to see it. Here's a duel where a few bad things happen to us, and yet we prevail. So we start with Hugin in draw. She gets ashed. Important thing to know, Hugin is not once per turn. So we will find a way to activate her again. Just watch. We go into Gigantic Spright. We do our Spright line. Blue into Jet. And here we're going to do an interesting thing. We could use Starter to bring something else out, but we actually want to keep these in hand. We need a discard here. So we're going to use Destruction to get another Hugin. We want one more Runick card in hand so that we can trigger this fountain that we add off of Hugin, which we'll do right now. Gonna make Melffy of the Forest. We're locked into 2s because we use Gigantic and we don't have a third Hugin, which maybe we should. So we use Golden Droplet to draw 3 into 3 differently named Runick cards. You love to see it. Elf just brings back another body for our Synchro plays next turn. We don't have any more targets for Jet, so we thought we would leave it for that reason for next turn, but it didn't matter. Because they activated Zombie World, we thought that Super Poly might be next, so we just shotgunned the Elf, which was correct, because they did. This does trigger our Wallaby. And here, since they're trying to add, we want to try to snipe their Golden Lord out of their deck. We don't know how many they run. Sadly, we missed. We banished some good stuff, though. And we also wanted to draw now, in case they tried to get rid of our fountain, which they do. But since we drew earlier, we have 2 more Runick cards we can activate and banish more things from their deck. Fun fact, if someone is activating an effect that's going to send your fountain to graveyard and resolution, you can chain the summon of Jerry, and then in the new chain, Cherry can grab back that fountain immediately, which is awesome for us. That's what we want. Now our big Golden Lord comes back. Very scary. But we've got lots of blockers on the field. We don't want them to send anything from deck to graveyard. So we get out Merry Melffys to put that right back in their hand. They get to set a card, that's fine. They go to attack Merry Melffys. Fun fact about Merry Melffys is that it doesn't have to summon something from the extra deck. If it gets attacked or if your opponent summons something, you can just put it back on the extra deck without summoning anything else, which is what we did because we've already used one of our forest, so we don't want to waste another one. We had plenty of blockers already. They're going to set some more stuff, all fine and dandy. Because they have Eldritch on the field, they can now summon any zombie from deck with Scarlet Sanguine. Since we knew they were probably going to activate that this turn, we normal summoned Wally. You can normal summon your Melffys if your opponent has a way to summon on your turn. It can be very useful because now we're triggering Wally on our own turn, which normally you don't get to do. We freeze and curses because this Doom King is a problem. Just got 2 monsters from the deck, which is awesome. Melffy of the Forest will let us get our hide and seek, which will allow us to recycle our beasts, including Jerry, who is a beast. Unfortunately, right now we realize that we cannot use it because everything in the graveyard is being treated as a zombie. Sort of forgot about that. That's okay, we have other things we can do. Like draw 3 cards. And at that, our opponent decides to finally call it quits. Don't blame him. Alright, here is a slog of a duel versus sort of a mirror match, Spright. They run Desires, which is questionable. Start with Nimble Beaver. They didn't banish all of their Nimble Beavers. Good for them. But they did banish all of their other Parallel Exceeds, which is why only one comes out. I don't really understand why they're running Parallel Exceed in Spright, but you know, it's a free world. People can make choices. They get out Carrot. They make IP, so they have a fair amount of interaction. And we've drawn our End of Anubis, which is really only in here to bring out off of Mannequin Cat. So we start by doing Runick things in the draw phase. The reason you always want to activate Hugin in the draw phase is in case our opponent has Droll, we do not want to be Drolled. So if we do Hugin in the draw phase to add the field spell, then we cannot be Drolled, because Droll cannot activate in the draw phase. Go to standby, go to main. We activate Hide and Seek, which is another part of our draw power in this Runick build. Very good. Here we actually use Hugin's Destruction Protection to protect Jet. The reason being is that we want to clear up our EMZ because we think we might actually activate it. Okay, here we made a mistake. We should not have chained because now this was not on the field when this resolves, and so we do not get to draw. Don't make that mistake. We thought we could fix it by drawing 2 more cards with Cap Shell and then Hide and Seek. We did not get to another Runick card, unfortunately. And then their last card was Droplet. A little unfortunate, but we have Wallaby, now known as Wally, and that is in fact all we need. Watch how much Wally does this turn. And notice if you ever activate a Melffy on field as 1 and chain an effect to bring back Melffy of the Forest, whether that's through the Synchro 4 or through Elf, then you will get to use this effect. And if they have any on-summon effects, you will get to negate them. Because watch what happens now. They try to activate blue, but we chain Melffy of the Forest, and now blue cannot resolve. It is negated. When we have both of our Melffys, we get to chain block, whichever we think is more important. Here we thought the pop was more important than grabbing Penny. They make Underworld Goddess, which is a very curious choice. They go to battle. We can't target anything right now except for Elf, because Elf is pointing to Underworld Goddess. So we use Vulcan to recycle our own Elf and get rid of their Elf. And now they're just sitting on an Underworld Goddess, which we should be able to beat. First, we start off by recycling some of our extra deck monsters. This gets us to Curses, which means we can now use Elf and have it not be negated. Drawing into blue is very good for us. We can't use red to negate Underworld Goddess because she's unaffected by things that don't target her, and red does not target. We want to bring back Cap Shell to draw some more. We've already drawn like 4 cards this turn. We're going to draw some more. Detaching Cap Shell, getting our Wallaby back, and we now have enough targets in deck. We don't have a battle phase because Runick, but we don't need it, because look at how much interruption we have now, and they're on 1 card. We're also down to 11 cards in deck because we've banished so many of them. They can negate our Elf, but they can't do any of this. Merry Melffy's another new card. Spinning their card, and they have nothing left, so they give up. I don't blame them. It says connection failed, but I think we all know what really happened. And before we finish today, I will walk you through my thought process in deck building Runick Melffy. You definitely don't have to do it the way I did it, but I will show you what I did, and if you wanted to get down to 40, that would not be hard. In terms of the Melffy cards, we are playing Puppy, Caddy, Pony, Wally, and Penny. It is my firm belief that you do not necessarily need more than one of any of these, because we can grab them with a generic rank 2 from the extra deck, and we can recycle them with Hide and Seek and Pony itself. In terms of our other beasts that we're playing, we're doing Hoppier to synchro on our opponent's turn a second time, because we'll be doing it for the first time with Penny. Very good. Calantosa to be brought out with Puppy to blow things up. Wind Up Kitten as something good to grab as a beast and have in rotation to bring back off of Elf perchance, because it is a soft once per turn to return an opponent's monster to the hand. Very good. 3 Fabled Cerberus, because it is incredibly good to summon Hugin and then discard Cerberus for cost, giving you 2 level 2 bodies on field, one of them being a tuner, without having committed to your normal summon. We love that. Ojama Pink is here because it lets us cycle cards, draw into more Runick cards if we need them, and if we're committing to the deck out plan of our opponent, we can keep activating Ojama Pink to make them draw and discard over and over again, thinning their deck. And because we are running all of these beasts, running 3 Obedience Schooled is incredible. Because as you saw in the videos, if you have watched those already, you can activate Obedience Schooled as 1. Any Runick card is Chainlink 2 to summon Hugin from the extra deck, and Chainlink 3 starter. So you could, when that Chainlink resolves, have 5 bodies on field. Awesome. When it comes to the Spright package, we're just running 1 starter, 1 blue, 1 jet, 1 red, and 1 carrot. Because once these are all in rotation, it's very easy to get them back with either your Elf or something like a Mannequin Cat. And it's usually enough to win the game once they're all in rotation. Any more and you start bricking a little bit, but you could run a Smashers if you wanted to. What we really want is to draw into things that we can immediately use, and to get all of this stuff out of our deck as soon as possible so that the only things we're drawing are Runick cards. First we have an Aperia. That's just for getting off of Gigantic to draw with, or getting off of Mannequin Cat by summoning back an opponent's Maxi, which is also Earth, to let us draw more. Runick Fountain. We're playing 1 of it. Playing 2 tip, we would obviously play 3 if we could. 3 Flashing Fire, 2 the max of Destruction, 2 the max of Freezing Curses, 2 the max of Slumber, and then we're just maxing out on everything else. 3 Smiting Storm, 3 Golden Droplet, 3 Dispelling. Most of what we're using these for is to summon Hugin and Jerry. Occasionally we're using their other effects once we're set up. You always want to have some of these in your hand so that you can trigger a fountain on your turn and your opponent's turn. If at any point you do not have Runick spells in your hand, you have a problem. Otherwise, I think that is it for the main deck. In the extra deck, we have 2 Hugin. We probably could have gotten away with 3 instead of this Jerry, but Jerry was really good for getting back our 1 of Fountain if it got sent to the graveyard one way or another. We have a bunch of Synchro cards because that is what makes this deck so good, is being able to use Penny and Hoppier on our opponent's turn and using our runic spells to get whichever levels we need, as long as the EMZ is clear. Herald the Arclight is an Omni Negate and also Dimensional Fissure of sorts. Merry Melffy's, awesome for bouncing things to the hand. Vulcan the Divine, just a bigger buffer Merry Melffy's, basically. We can also return our own things to hand. Often you'll return Vulcan itself to the extra deck so that you can just use it again next turn. But other times you might want to return a Spright card, so then you have plays if everything else in your hand is a Melffy. Desert Locusts I showcased with Cypher and Lord Omega. These two together let you hand rip your opponent for 2 on the opponent's turn. If we ever do attack, Cat Shark can be very useful with Gigantic Spright. It's also good as a generic Beast Xyz monster, so if you have too many bodies on field, you can clear them by making a Cat Shark and a Mannequin Cat or something, and then just putting it back in the extra deck with Hide and Seek to draw. Mannequin Cat is an insane card. We have lots of different attributes in this deck, and we can summon them by strategically summoning things from our opponent's graveyard. We have 2 Forest. Usually the first Forest you summon is going to get Wallaby, and then on turn 3, the Forest you make is going to grab Hide and Seek to put back the things you used turn 2, and then continue doing your things. Joyous Melffy's amazing card, and I have the Royal Rare version. Really good for bringing back a Kalatosa on the opponent's turn. Really good if you get Max Seed after you activate Obedience Schooled to only let them draw 1. Just summon on their turn instead. And then we have 1 each of Gigantic and 1 of Spright Elf. With that, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And if you have any thoughts on this or other decks you'd like to see me play, do let me know in the comments. Otherwise, ignore my cat doing her business in the background, and I'll catch you next time.